Hey everyone, Adam here, aka Synagogue. We're on the Movable. No, the Halloween reviews and rants still have not ended. Still fucking continuing. Let me explain why I'm shaking my head and laughing just now. We're done with the Halloween films in some capacity, but now we're moving on to remakes now. Everybody knows how I feel about remakes. I don't agree with them, especially when they're trying to remake something that doesn't need remaking. When a new director thinks he can do a better job than the original. But remakes are all about change, I understand that. But now we're coming to a remake of the first Halloween movie. The Rob Zombie's Halloween, which came out precisely August 31st of 2007. For those of you who didn't watch my previous review on this, it's going back some years. And it would be nice to relive the good times. So without further ado, let's take a trip down memory lane and revisit the good times. And then after that, I'll explain how I feel about the movie now and how I explain about the movie back then. So let's get on with it.
Hello? 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 Oh, fucking hell. Hello?
Hiya, Mikey. Glad you could make it. I've been waiting for you. I was scared. Scared they were gonna catch me. That you weren't gonna come get me.
Okay, I admit. John Carpenter's Halloween. No, that's not it. Okay, I admit. It's not John Carpenter's Halloween. I've already reviewed John Carpenter's Halloween, the unique horror film that was made in the 70s. And what a pure classic it was, John Carpenter's Halloween. Pure classic. Undoubtedly one of the best movies in its day, still is today. But it's not John Carpenter's Halloween. That's it. That is fucking it. Rob Zombie's Halloween. That's the thing I was searching for, Rob Zombie's Halloween. Right. Let's get this review or rant underway.
You're scared. How the hell do you think I feel? I'm gonna be walking back through them on my own.
So, this is Rob Zombie's Halloween. Made in the year 2007, and it's a remake of John Carpenter's Halloween that was made in the year of 1978. I don't like it, I'm sorry. Why? Yes, because it's a remake. We all know how I feel about remakes. I'm not a big fan of remakes, I don't agree with them, I don't think they're necessary, because I've said from time and time again, what we need now is new horror icons. That's what we need. We've got all the classic horror icons like Freddy, Jason, Leatherface, Pinhead, Michael Myers, Chucky, Leprechaun. You know, you've got all these countless horror icons that go down in order. And they're great, they're legendary, we'll forever remember them as classics. But what we need now is new ones. Okay, I know they've tried, you know, we've got Victor Crowley, you know, from the Hatchet series, but it's not really working so well, you know. But when you look at these new generations of films, they're all based on 3D, they're all based on remakes of things we've already seen. Well, Rob Zombie's Halloween is just one of those typical films that are just being remade, you know, to refreshen the franchise, but I don't think that's necessary. I don't think Rob Zombie's Halloween needs, you know, a refreshing film to refresh these type of franchises. I mean, this is the original John Carpenter's Halloween, and I absolutely love it. But what we need is new horror icons, okay? We don't need to see things we've already seen, but in new format, like 3D, or in a whole new different film that's, you know, based with better graphics or new stories and stuff like that. That's just my opinion, okay? We need new horror icons. We don't need to see things over again. I mean, look what we've already seen. We've got remakes of Halloween. You know, we've got the remake of Hellraiser coming up. A new sequel or remake to Chucky. You know, we've got Texas Chainsaw Massacre coming out next year in 3D. You know, I'm not interested. I don't want to know any of that. But here we've got Rob Zombie's Halloween. Okay, we've got Michael Myers. Alright, but in a whole new different story. Now, one thing I want to say about Michael Myers, I think he's a legendary character. And the one thing I like about Michael Myers was his presence and his whole character. I mean, one thing about his character was he was mysterious. That's the one thing I liked about Michael Myers. He was mysterious. We knew nothing about him. Yeah, we learned that he killed, you know, his older sister and his family right at the start of the film, and we don't know why. And that leaves the viewers concerned and thinking, you know, why did he do it? Why did he do it? What was his motive? What drove him to it? You know, and that's what made Michael Myers scary, the fact that we knew nothing about him. And the fact that we knew nothing about him just made him terrifying, and that made him stalk his sister, which made it even more terrifying. We don't know what his intentions were. We didn't know whether he wanted to kill her, just mess with her mind. You know, we didn't know what Michael Myers' presence was. You know, we didn't know the whole point of him. That's what made him scary, and that's what I like about him in the original Halloween film. Okay. Now, do I like him in Rob Zombie's Halloween? No. Why? Because they fucked up the whole character. Yeah, I know what you're trying to say. Remakes are all about change, this and that, but no, not when you come to Michael Myers, because one thing about Michael Myers was he was all about mystery. But we learnt all about Michael Myers in the first 10 minutes of the film. So basically, the full first hour of the film, it was all explained in 10 minutes. Because we have Michael Myers, this normal kid. He's in an abusive family, you know. He's got a stepdad who's a complete dickhead. You know, we've got his mother who's, you know, a lap dancer, and we've got his sister who's a bit of a slut. But the family household is a mess. I mean, it's abusive, you know, a fucking pigsty, and basically he's grew up like in an abusive family. So straight away you think to yourself, that's what motivated Michael Myers. The fact that he grew up in an abusive family. Because like I say, you got his mother who's a lap dancer, you got his sister who's a complete slut, you know, you got a dad who's a complete arsehole, well, stepdad, boyfriend. So you know straight away why he's the way he is. He's grew up in an abusive family, and that's what's motivated him. Years of abuse and neglect over the years, it's finally took a toll on Michael Myers' brain, and that's what drove him to kill his family. So that's what I didn't like. The fact that the character was explained in the first 10 minutes. I mean, you explain and you say, oh yeah, that was the fucking reason, you know, that was the fucking reason why he did what he did. Because that's exactly what he does. I mean, the first thing he does, he kills a bully from school. So that's another reason. He had years of bullying. So he snaps this one afternoon after finishing school because he kills a bully who's obviously making fun of his mom for the job that she's doing. Beats him to death with a fucking branch, which was brutal, don't get me wrong. I'll get to that second point and the reason why, the brutality. So he beats this fucking bully to death, and on that same night, he stabs and kills his mother's boyfriend, and then he kills his older sister. And then, as a result of that, Michael is charged with first-degree murder, and he's sent away to a secure child psychiatric hospital where He's looked over by Dr. Sam Loomis, who's played by Malcolm McDowell, I think that's his name. Now, got nothing against Malcolm, but I just don't think he did a good job as Donald Pleasance, unfortunately. So, yeah. So the actors playing the characters. Got nothing against them. I'm not bashing them, but again, Rob Zombie's Halloween could have been a perfect movie for a whole new horror icon. They could have put another horror icon in this film. That's what's pissing me off. That's what's really pissing me off. They could have used this movie to build up a whole new horror icon. I don't know, call him Daniel Latoy or call him whatever the fuck you want. Alright, but they could have used this story because the story ain't that bad. I like the story of Rob Zombie's Halloween, but they could have used it for a whole new fucking horror icon. Built up a new start for a new horror icon. That's what they could have done. There's a lot of gore in Halloween, Rob Zombie's Halloween. Don't get me wrong, there's gore in the Halloween movies as well, but they try to make the Rob Zombie's Halloween more disgusting, more bloody, more disgusting, and again, that wasn't the whole point of the Halloween films. It was all about Michael Myers stalking, etc., and the suspense building up, where in this one it's about a boy who's been neglected, he snaps, does first bloody murders and shit like that. Well, anyway, he's in the care of Dr. Sam Loomis. You know, he shuts himself away from the world, doesn't talk to anyone. His mum visits him regularly. But he snaps once again and kills a nurse, and his mum can't cope with all the shit, so she fucking blows her brains out. And years later, Michael Myers has now grew up. You know, he's developed a hobby where he's making masks for himself, where he's shutting himself away from the real world. Dr. Sam Loomis is now fucking fed up. He wants to move on with his life. He's gave up on Michael Myers, so he's decided to move on. But now Michael Myers wants to seek revenge, so he breaks out of the psychiatric hospital one night to try and seek his younger sister. You know, he goes back to his old house, which is now been abandoned and boarded up. And from there he goes on one big killing spree just to try and find his younger sister. So the story is fairly similar to Halloween, but again, it's not as scary as the original Halloween. I mean, in the first half hour of this Halloween, John Carpenter's Halloween, you know, you got the first full half hour of stalking, suspense building, where in the first half hour in this you've just got half hours of abuse to Michael Myers, and the suspense is just all, there's no suspense in Rob Zombie's Halloween. It's just all brutal killings, you know, revenge based on neglect and abuse and bullying and shit like that. So Michael Myers, I suppose he is fairly similar, but 95% of him is this whole brand new, based on the events that I've just already explained. So, which is a real shame. I mean, yeah, you've got the odd satisfying killing, I suppose, but again, I don't like the film, I don't own it, and I never will, because it just disappointed me with the way they changed the Michael Myers character. So, that's all I've got to say about Rob Zombie's Halloween, guys and babes. I'm sorry that I didn't explain it more. But I know there's some people out there who like the remake. That's fine. We're all different. But I, for one, do not like the remake Rob Zombie's Halloween to the Halloween that was made by John Carpenter's. I mean, he did direct Rob Zombie's Halloween, so Rob Zombie did. John Carpenter's got nothing to do with the remake of Halloween. That's it, guys and babes. Please rate and comment this video. Thanks. Take care.
And now here we are, 7 years later. I watched the movie again moments ago, Rob Zombie's Halloween, that came in the year of 2007. And the way I feel about it now is exactly the same way how I feel about it back then. I do not like Rob Zombie's Halloween, everybody. And I've got a good reason to rant on this movie, the same reason why everybody else has ranted on this movie. This guy here, Michael Myers. John Carpenter's Halloween, he defined a very scary character. Didn't say a word. You know, we didn't know what was going through his mind at the time when he killed his sister. And this is talking about John Carpenter's Halloween in the 70s. It made him scary, the fact he was a stalker. We don't know what drove him to such horrific acts of that night on Halloween where he killed his sister. But then again, in this Rob Zombie's Halloween, we fucking knew why he did it. And in my opinion, that ruined the character of Michael Myers. You know, we learned that in the remake. He had a stepdad who was an asshole. His mother basically did some work as a lap dancer or a stripper. You know, he's got a slutty sister. But the family's very disorganised. He has an abusive family. And due to years of abuse and being bullied at school because of what his mum does for a living by all these other kids, he gets a lot of abuse about what his mother does for a living as a stripper, and he gets bullied basically. And he's got an abusive stepfather, which drives him to horrific acts like killing his pet rats. So we learn all about Michael in the first half of the movie, just like that. And I'm thinking, what a fucking time waster. We did not need to know why Michael. We did not need to know why Michael was, you know, what he was basically. We don't need to know any of that. We don't need to know the reason why he turned into a killer. It obviously built up on his brain, and he snapped, and eventually did all the killings. We do not need to know any of that. He was scary enough in John Carpenter's Halloween, knowing that we knew nothing about him. He stalked, appeared from nowhere. You know, we did not know what he was going to go through next through his mind. That's what made him scary. The fact he was a stalker. But again, in Rob Zombie's Halloween, I do the complete opposite of that. Yeah, he's now a fucking killer because, you know, his abusive family and all the bullies that fucking made his life a living hell has finally took a tone upon him, and that's what made him snap. You know, but before I get more further into it, I want to discuss a few things. Before I did a review on Rob Zombie's Halloween, or a rant as you could say, I watched a few, I think they're on YouTube, but I watched them online on a different website. Rob Zombie's been actually interviewed about how he feels about remakes, how he feels about the original Halloween. I didn't appreciate some of the things he said, but I did agree with some things he said, but why he did the complete opposite, I'll never fucking know. He stated he's not a fan of remakes, yet he decides to remake Halloween. He's not a big fan of Donald Pleasant's character as Dr. Sam Loomis. I disagree with that one. You know, he basically goes back on everything that... I mean, nothing against Rob Zombie. I don't hate the guy. I like some of his music. But in my opinion, he doesn't know anything about how to direct a remake of a Halloween movie. Halloween was one of those movies that did not need to be touched. It did not need to be remade. There was no need to fucking remake it or mess with it or alter it in any type of capacity. But Rob Zombie did it, despite him saying he's not a big fan of remakes. But he did it anyway. You know, he actually fucking says in his own words that he's not a fan of remakes because he agrees that original should be left alone. You know, he does like the complete opposite of everything that he said on a live camera interview, basically. I mean, what this generation needs now, everybody, is new horror icons. We need new ideas. You know, we've seen the Freddys, we've seen the Jasons, we've seen the Michael Myers, we've seen the Chuckies. Yet this generation is now focusing on remakes and reboots or sequels of old classics that we've actually seen them all. We want to see new fucking stuff now. What's wrong with creating new horror icons now and making them as popular as they were back in the 80s? What's wrong with that? We're just getting reboots now of altering stories that doesn't need to reboot, and these directors think that when they do a remake, like Rob Zombie, he thinks he can do a better job than John Carpenter. He thinks he can do a better job at retelling a story in a different way. He thinks it would be more interesting to know more about background stories or what built up to all these crimes and all that kind of shit. And in my opinion, it just does not fucking work. Like I said, I'm not bashing Rob Zombie, but I like his music and all that, but when it comes to directing a Halloween movie, I don't think he knows what the fuck he's doing. Why the fuck did he alter the Michael Myers character in such a drastic way? Why did he do it? In my opinion, the Michael Myers character has been ruined now in the remakes. He really has. This guy now has fucking changed. And he ain't changed for the better either. I mean, we know that Michael Myers goes to a mental institute after all the horrific things he's done. he's making masks in his spare time, and you know, Dr. Sam Loomis is gave up hope of trying to fucking you know, work on the Michael Myers case. His mum commits suicide because she can't cope with all the stress anymore. Shoots herself in the head. And this one evening, Michael Myers breaks out, goes back to Haddonfield, his hometown, and then that's where all the havoc begins. So, the last half of the movie, it is pretty much like the first movie, but more gore sequences added in it. Again, gore sequences were not needed for a Halloween movie. Yes, they're needed for a Friday the 13th movie, but not a Halloween movie. I mean, there's one memorable scene when he was a child and he actually beats one of the bullies with a fucking branch off a tree. You know, like they say, the scene where he's killed the rats. You know, there's more horrific scenes in this movie, but it was not needed for a Halloween movie. A Friday the 13th movie, maybe, but not a Halloween movie. You know, we've seen a new side of Michael Myers now. We know why he did what he did because of all the abuse, and that's like a typical storyline that you would find in any horror movie. And it's the oldest plot in the book. The fact that a boy's getting abused, he's getting stressed in his own mind because of his abusive family, and getting bullied at the same time. It's a typical everyday plot story you can make for any Halloween movie. We've seen all those before. But the fact that John Carpenter made it all mysterious is just classic. Giving the viewers a point to work out in their own minds why Michael Myers is evil. You know, but Rob Zombie does the complete opposite. You know, there's a lot more gore sequences in this movie which weren't completely necessary. Again, I don't know why Rob Zombie did the complete opposite of his interviews when he says he wasn't a fan of remakes and all that shit. And he does it anyway. We got Malcolm McDowell playing Dr. Sam Loomis in the remake. No disrespect to him, he was fine, but he was definitely no Donald Pleasance. Cast-wise, yeah, you had Sherry Moon Zombie playing Deborah Myers. With Tyler Mane as Michael Myers. Dave Frach as Michael Myers when he was age 10. In regards to what he does now, he has made some other movies. I mean, he's now 23 years of age now. He's made other films like Hancock, Pushing Daisies, Family on 4, Run Bitch Run, Mental. His recent instalment in 2018, Josie, where he played Gator. Yeah, but overall, everybody, I feel exactly the same way about Rob Zombie's Halloween now as I did all them years ago. Weren't really impressed with this remake whatsoever. I mean, I don't like remakes in general, but when they fucking alter something 100% on terms of when they don't need altering, especially the Michael Myers character, it's a massive kick in the balls. I wasn't impressed that Michael Myers was changed. We learned everything about him in the first half of the movie. You know, I don't think this movie needed as much gore as I put in it. Storytelling wise, it's fairly similar, you know, about him escaping from a mental institute and all that kind of stuff. But they mainly focus on the first half of the movie about his mental upbringing, basically. And, you know, and in my opinion, I don't think Rob Zombie pulled it off as good as John Carpenter. And I think many other Halloween fans would agree with that. But that's just the way it rolls. That's my review, everybody, from Rob Zombie's Halloween. I mean, I don't know what more I can say. I mean, I watched it again moments ago, and I was just blown away with disappointment again. So, please like, rate, and comment, everyone, and you might have got any questions. Peace out.